right. So, welcome to everybody that is here, and welcome to everybody that's coming in and all that good stuff. We're gonna try and keep this hangout relatively short, not too much blabbering. Of course, if you guys have questions and concerns and all that stuff, we're gonna address them here on the spot and maybe a little bit later if we need to. Um, Apologies for this really long hangout. We'll probably trim the start part of it because I pressed the button on OBS instead of just streaming to show me that it is streaming. It streamed and started the stream. So I don't know why it did that. Um, hey, it is technology. What? Nothing you can do. So welcome to everybody. This is our community hangout. We haven't had one of these in a little bit in a while. As one would expect, summer slows people down in terms of working on different projects and all that stuff, and you mostly go towards vacation, the beach, beer, and anything else. So what is our agenda? Introduction, of course. Welcome to all attendees. Thank you again to the whole community, all the contributors, status updates, discussion, and future plans, and then Q&A. Few points here. A slide that you guys have seen numerous times. A huge thank you to all of our community. Everybody that has been engaging with us, even in these slow days and slow months, and trying to move the goalpost further, as they call it. These are our the areas that we have a presence, the different channels, different social networks. Of course, we're trying to keep um, a presence in pretty much everything that we can find our hands on, just to make sure that whatever your preference is, you can actually follow us there. And of course, another slide that you guys have seen numerous times. A huge thank you to the supporters and people that have been working on in the translations for Falcon and any documents that we have. Very quickly, the service that we use is from Crowden. Again, we thank those guys too for offering us this service. The English translation is the core translation for the documentation. So if you want to translate something in your own native tongue, you go to Crowden, you select your language, and then you start translating one after another. And after that, what happens once your translations get approved by a proofreader, then they get pushed automatically to our repository, and then we redeploy the documents, and voila. Everything is pretty much automated other than just the rebuilding of their website. So a huge thank you to everybody that has helped with translations. So uh, we're now in the summer. What has happened? Well, it was really slow progress, and we all focused on work and family. On my personal situation, I've had 2 weeks of vacation, which was awesome, and it was the first vacation that I had in the last 5 years. So it was kind of like well deserved. Um, it's really nice to spend time with the family, go up in the mountains, and just enjoy yourself. And I know Rude and Sergey also had vacations, and Anton is getting ready to go for a couple of weeks and enjoy himself. So just like last year, summer is usually a slow time, and of course with COVID, everything is um, thrown off the cliff on what we're doing. Pretty much a lot of people don't even know if they can go outside. Here in Delaware, where I am in the U.S., you're not allowed to go out without a mask, which is stupid. But hey, it is what it is. I'm not the one making the decisions. But you go into other spots, the people just are okay. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It's one of these things that everything was thrown upside down with this virus. Anyway, so the team focused mostly on work and on family. We had vacations, and of course, we slowed down. Everything slowed down, and the link that you have is the actual sprint that we have, and the progress, the projects that we have, the where we track the project progress. So the next one is the interesting part. We have some team changes. So Sergey is going to be stepping down. He can no longer commit any time to the project. There have been other things that he needs to focus on, primarily family and work. So he's not able to give us the quality of support that he used to, and instead of pretending that he could help us and fooling himself, he was very nice and very kind enough to turn around and say, "Hey guys, I'm not going to be able to help." So this is pretty much the deal. So he's stepping down, and we have a huge thank you to him for all this time, because the last few versions of version 3 were primarily Sergey working both on Falcon and Sapphire. And last year, no, it's not last year, to 2020, 2018, end of 2018, when I started a little bit more hardcore to work on Falcon, he was maintaining both Zephyr and Falcon, and that was great to keep the project alive and keep on helping everybody with their projects. Again, a huge thank you. Um, it's amazing the work that he has done through all this time. Also, the rest of the team will work as per time permits, and the reason I put this here is because not because we don't want to work on Falcon. We still have the same drive and the same enthusiasm, but as I mentioned earlier, there have been a lot of things that changed with this COVID, and sometimes the decisions that we make are not reflective of exactly what we are doing. There's other factors that might allow us to have X amount of time or not. So, depending on how things go, we could have a little bit of a lower participation or contributions, or a higher. I mean, I don't know. I'm just putting that there just so that we have it on a slide. So, with these news, we have an issue here, right? So clearly the issue is with Zephyr. We do not have any maintainers for this project at all. Neither myself, Anton, or Rude know how to work with C. Now, Zephyr is written with PHP, and it's kind of like a translator, if you like. It takes the Zephyr syntax and it produces C code, and then that gets compiled, which is perfectly fine. Problem is, we don't know how to do that anymore. I mean, I'm honestly, guys, I'm too old to learn C on my own. So, and even if I do want it to, I would be kind of like a mediocre developer in a year and a half, and that's not helping the project. So the thing with Zephyr was that it was invented to help with contributions. So we wanted to have a language where somebody can write an extension extremely easily by using a syntax that they know. And that's why Zephyr was invented. Now, unfortunately, not many wanted to help with it, and then the language became stagnant, and it was difficult to maintain with a lot of bugs that had to be that could not be fixed unless the whole language was redesigned, and the structure of the language. So these were the problems that we had with Zephyr. I know that Sergey made a really valiant effort last year. Um, Hold on, Julius. I'll come to that. Okay, give me a few. So Zephyr, he really wanted to rewrite Zephyr in a way where you can actually have plugins, you can have better parsing, and all that stuff. Things that would allow the person that maintains the language uh, to do their job. To find bugs easier and have tests and all that stuff. The unfortunately he had no time to fully do it. I mean, this is a years long process, and if you're solo, there's not much you can do. So anyway, a long story short, uh, we have nobody to maintain Sapphire, and therefore the development of Sapphire will be putting on hold, and we do not expect Sapphire to be compatible with PHP 8. We don't have time, and we don't know how to fix it. Of course, maintainers are always welcome to Sapphire. Whoever knows C and wants to dig in, if they want to take ownership of the project, by all means, we're more than happy to work with them and help anywhere we can. But right now, we just don't have the expertise to go to Sapphire and keep on producing it. So, coming back to what Julius said. So, what are we doing with Falcon? All right. So, uh, Falcon cannot be maintained anymore without Zephyr being developed. All right. There's a lot of there's a lot of things that we need to have done in Zephyr for them to work with Falcon. I'll give you the example of the last few months where we had several issues, several bugs that came up in the pipeline, and they all had to do with visibility of properties and inheritance. And as such, those were all because of the scope that Zephyr was doing. The minute that bug was fixed, five or six different issues were fixed in Falcon. So, having that in mind, you cannot expect to have proper development in Falcon unless there's also development in Zephyr. Okay. And we will switch to a pure PHP implementation for Falcon 5. All right, so very quickly to to the chat, could we rewrite Julius asked, could we rewrite the entire code base in raw PHP? That is the idea. The performance shouldn't be impacted that much as we have many improvements since with PHP. I do agree with you on that. Where Falcon really shone or shined, um, where Falcon really performed was in version 5.6 of PHP, where you could see the performance just blistering. The good thing, and it's not very good for Falcon, but the good thing for the community was that PHP 7 became a hell of a lot faster, and therefore the gap between Falcon slash PHP 5.6 actually shrunk, and it wasn't a huge performance that you would get, but you would still get some performance. Now with version 8 coming up, we will see more performance coming, and there's also a few goodies in the bag with weak maps, asynchronous generators, and so on and so forth, and you can turn around and have all that. To answer Izo, I assume no word from Andres. No, sadly we have not heard from Andres. Hoping everything is okay. Um, so that's it. We don't know. So for what will happen to Falcon 4? This is something that people would be interested in knowing. So we have released Falcon 4, and we are at 4.0.6 right now. 4.1, that has quite a few things coming in, will be released, and then we will freeze development. Now, the GitHub project that we have will reflect what would be released for 4.1. All the cards that we will have there with either new functionality or bugs will be released, and we will try to make sure that all the bugs, the critical ones, are fixed before we do that. It will support PHP. Uh, uh, we will still use PHP 7.3 and 7.4 for this, and we will support v4, but the main focus will be v5. Now, as I mentioned, the urgent high priority issues will definitely be addressed just to make sure, even if we need to have 4.1.1, 0.2, or whatever. And we are more than happy to part with some of the money that we have in Open Collective in order to fix some things that we are not able to, such as Sapphire or C related issues that we have in V4. So, what are we going to do with Falcon 5? It's going to be a pure PHP implementation, installation with Composer. These two are very good news for the community because you'll be able to hack the code if you want to, and just one command will actually install whatever you need, Composer install or Composer update, whatever you need. You don't have to install any extensions and so on and so forth. Especially with the whole thing that has been going, oh, you have to install PSR before you install Falcon and so on and so forth. All these are going to be sorted out with Composer. Now, Batworks compatibility with V4 will happen as much as possible. We should not have that many problems going backwards compatible because most of the code will be translated, if you like, but there are certain areas that we have to kind of like reinvent the wheel as we go along. And three of those areas are Vault, PHQL parser, and annotations parser. These three areas. And the reason these three areas are the problem is because we these implementations are in pure C. So what we have to do is we have to create, let's say, the PHQL parser in PHP that will produce exactly the same results that the C one does, and then offer those results back to the helper functions that Falcon has, and then produce everything, and then offer everything that we need. Now, I'm not sure how easy or how difficult this task will be. I mean, we will have to really dive deep and just make sure that the implementations are pretty much identical. But it's a question mark. Now, for personally, I haven't used the annotations parser, but I have used significantly Volt in different applications as well as the PHQL parser. So there's ample examples that we have that we can leverage and figure out whether what we're doing is correct or not. And of course, a lot of tests are going to have to be written for all of that. Now, for V5, we're going to start with PHP 7.4 as well as offer PHP 8 support so long as we have our hands in an alpha, as they promised that they will release one around November, December. I don't remember exactly when. We need to ensure that we will keep with current Falcon goals. So performance, low overhead, and ease of use would always be things that we can. And there's a lot of tools in the PHP toolbelt that we can utilize in order to minimize resources and all of that. Of course, the one of the biggest things that we used to have as a plus was that you don't have to include a ton of files. All right, with Falcon, everything is in memory and all that stuff. And actually, Isa wrote it in the chat. We use Symfony in the office, still not even close to Falcon's performance. Just the file includes alone will be 1,000 times faster, which I do agree. And hello, Sakura. Um, Welcome to the Hangout. Sakura, sorry. So there's a lot of challenges for us to figure out. It's also exciting because hopefully we're gonna be able to have the community more involved in how we deal with things and grow the ecosystem that we have with regards to new applications, new plugins, new anything. All right. Now the last four bullet points. Cardo to be used possibly as a starting point. So in case people did not know, Cardo means ADR, so action domain responder. It's kind of like an anagram of that pattern. It's a repository that it's on my private, well, on my, not private, on my GitHub on the slash Needon. And what I did with Cardo was whenever I wanted to introduce, hey Oleg, hi, I miss you guys. Um, I miss you guys too. So what what happened with Cardo is that whenever I wanted to release something that was quite heavy, quite big, so I'll give you an example. Um, the work that has been done for the data mapper, right? Or some of the helpers with HTML or other things that have come into version 4, right? What I would do is I would first create the components in Cardo in that repository in a pure PHP implementation. Okay, so what I would also do is when I got to the implementation that I really liked and everything was fine, I would start writing tests, and it's much easier to write tests and correct PHP code rather than doing it in Falcon, because if you make a tiny mistake in Falcon, you had to recompile the whole extension and then just go back and rerun your test, right? This one actually saved me a lot of time. So I would create all that, and then I would make sure that for component X, I have 100% code coverage, which was perfect. Then what I would do is I would take that component, that folder, if you like, and I will drop it into Falcon and start translating, so to speak, the code from PHP to Sapphire. Um, it's the wrong link to the stream. I thought that was the right link. Okay. Hold on a sec. Let me just quickly see this. Give me one moment, guys. Let me just check what what Oleg on our blog post, wrong link to the stream.
Ah, I see it. On Discord, we posted wrong link. I'll fix it.
Is that on Discord or on the blog
On
post?
the, on Discord, I think.
Okay, all right, you can do that. Um, okay, so coming back with Cardo, so I would just create everything that I wanted, the component that I wanted in PHP. I would create all the tests, make sure I have 100% code coverage, and then I would copy the whole folder into Falcon slash Sapphire, and then I would start changing the code or translating it, if you like, back from PHP to Sapphire, right? And of course, there would be some changes, some challenge and all that stuff. But once the code was translated into Zephyr, all I had to do is just run the tests, which I already had written, and then all of a sudden, here's my component. It's ready. It's tested. It's everything that I wanted it to be. So that's what Cardo is. So if anybody's interested, it's slash needed slash Cardo. You're gonna see some of the stuff, mostly PSR related, and it's kind of like a test bed that I have. Okay, now why we're mentioning this is because when we say, okay, we want to make sure that we translate, so to speak, or we're implementing Falcon from Zephyr to PHP. Well, some of the components, for instance, the logger and a couple of other bits and pieces, have already been implemented and they're there. So what we could do is we could identify whether we could possibly use those components already ready, and then instead of just reinventing the wheel. So we're going to do that. We're going to investigate. Also, we're going to continue with what we were saying about the action domain responder pattern, which was scheduled for V4. Of course, 100% code coverage is our aim for tests and all that, as well as we have other opportunities to open for us for weak maps, for async, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of things that we could definitely go on. But the idea is to for V5 to have the action domain responder pattern so that you can use your responder. You can use a decorator on top, for instance, twig. You can use that, and you can just send the request the response the way you want it, and have the main wiring happening as it should be. And one of the things that people have been complaining about, and the community wanted, was PSR7 requests, responses, and all that stuff. So all of that would be much easier to maintain and move forward with. So I said hello, Oleg. ISO, maybe Twig is an option. Yeah, it could be. It has to be investigated first, just to see what's going on. Um, Rude actually fixed the links that we have. Thanks, buddy. So yeah, that this is the core of what we're talking. Now, let's talk about some dates and times. And of course, this is a little bit flexible, but this is what we have in mind. So August, which is halfway done, we're gonna concentrate mostly on version 4 bugs, and then drawing the version 5 requirements as well as the version 5 design. We're gonna decide what we're gonna use and what we're not gonna use. Of course, this is gonna be a community vote, right? Um, Out of the components that Falcon has, we could potentially do what we have been discussing in the past. And this is just an idea, but this is where we will need the community to either take a vote or have at least an honest discussion about it. In the past, what we were discussing, and unfortunately we couldn't do it because of not because only of the restrictions that we had with Sapphire. I remember I mentioned that it wasn't designed the way our requirements now exist. But the idea was at some point to investigate whether we can have different components installable. So, for instance, if you wanted the Falcon DB, you could just type in apt install falcon-db, and that would install, let's say, the DB components and so on and so forth. Well, now with uh, with PHP, we have the and with Composer, we have the ability to create much smaller components. Let's say one for the database, one for security, one for crypt, one for whatever, and that would allow people to tailor their installations to have as less files as possible included. Um, it, One of the things that people don't realize is how many packages each composer how many files each composer includes. So, hey, tactics, um, tactics. In case nobody remembers or anybody remembers, is the wizard with the Mongo. He's been working on getting the Mongo driver up. Um, so what I was going to say is that people do not realize how many files are being included for every composer install. For instance, if you try to install Doctrine or something, it starts including a ton of other files from the debal, the this, that, the other. So it's never one package you just plug and play, right? And if you understand that problem and you work on making your components dependency free, then you're gonna have the least amount of files included per run. So that's one of the things that I want to do, and this goes to what Izo said earlier about how many thousands of files are being included, let's say for Symfony or others. All right, and there's nothing wrong with Symfony. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bad mouthing anybody, but it's something that we have in mind, and we do want to ensure that we do not overuse resources. Okay, and that's with the V5 design. Continuing a little bit on September, we're gonna have a presentation for version 5 and what we're gonna do. We're gonna set, it's not set to, it's set up. We're gonna set up repositories. We're gonna set up continuous integration, performance tests, and so on and so forth. We're gonna start the backlog sprints, and then we're gonna start developing. I mean, I wish it was September right now, but hey, yeah. It is an exciting new project, and it's really nice to see what we can do and how much we can push PHP to the limits, right? Also, what we're gonna do a little bit later is we're expecting version 5 alpha somewhere in November, and also in this December to work on